our privilege serving you these past couple of weeks on this tragedy that struck your community. We're here tonight to provide a briefing, a historical look back on the fire from the beginning, and tell you where it's at now, and I'll give you some other information. I want to start off with introducing CAL FIRE Tuolumne Calaveras Unit Chief Josh White. Division Chief Roy Evans. Incident Commander Fulton Harris from Incident F-1. Incident Commander Trainee Stephen Shaw. From the Amador Eldorado Unit, Division Chief Chris Post. Also from the Amador Eldorado, Lieutenant Chief Mike Oliveria. IMT-1 Operations Section Chief Tony Brunel. Our Law Liaison Officer Lieutenant Scott Black. Incident Information Officer Mike Mulder. Over here at your left, key cooperators from local government, Sheriff Gary Coons. From the California Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Dwayne Lewis. Local government fire chiefs would be Jim Carroll from West Point, Bob Young from San Andreas, Steve Kovacs from Murphy's, Jim Morgraw from Alphaville, Malone's Angels Camp, Michael Johnson from Evans Pass. Now I'll turn it over to Jeff Stone.
Jeff Stone, Central Calaveras.
Central Calaveras. Welcome to the class. So at this time, I'd like to hand it off to Mike Moll, our Incident Information Officer. He'll be the MC for the event, and we'll work through our briefing.
Thanks, Chief. Good evening, everyone. We'll get started here. We're going to go right into our initial attack. Incident Commander, Chief Mike Oliveria.
Good evening, Mike Albright, CAL FIRE Eldorado Unit. So I was the initial attack incident commander, and I'm just going to briefly describe the events that took place at the beginning of the fire, and if we have any specific questions for me, we will be around afterwards to handle those. So we were dispatched about 2:30, en route to the fire. As I came around Butte Point there in Jackson, is when I saw the smoke for the first time. It was a moderate smoke. Didn't appear to have a real very quick river spread. As I went on scene, I realized I had about 4 acres of fire, and it was burning from Butte Mountain Road to Cherubim Ranch Road. And we were able to get some equipment in there, and we picked up the fire on Cherubim Ranch Road at about 4 acres. However, the fire thrown a spot fire about halfway down into the Colony River drainage. So that being what it is, that's kind of a bigger part of our task to take care of once it does that. We made a pretty substantial request for equipment, including engines, crews, and dozers, and aircraft to handle that, expanding event. Moved around to a point where I could see it, and the fire behavior with the fire in the canyon was what you would expect it to be. Slope runs from the mid-slope part of the canyon up towards the top. We were protecting structures and putting lining at the top of the canyon, and we're starting to work down the flank of the canyon to tie the fire into the Colony River. Things were going well. At about 5 to 5:30, the up canyon or the diurnal wind subsided, and the north wind surfaced and pushed the fire. We had a little run from about mid-slope down towards the electric powerhouse. When it made that run, the fire had spotted over into Calaveras County. At that point, we made another substantial resource request to Tuolumne Calaveras Unit, which again included additional aircraft, dozers, crews, and engines. It probably, from the time we first saw the spot, I would say it was probably 10 minutes before it hit the top of the rim. When I initially saw the spot, we immediately made a evacuation request to Calaveras County SO. Talking to my partner, they responded extremely quickly and got there within 10 minutes and started evacuating that Montgomery area. And we also requested Highway 26, a mile east of and a mile west of Montgomery. Once that equipment got on scene, we established that as an additional branch of the fire, and I'll let Division Chief Chris Post describe the rest. At that point, we handed off the IC to him, and I took the operation through. Thank you.
Good evening, Tony Brownells, Management Team 1 Operations. And operations means that I was running the firefighting operations during the day on the ground and Mike was running at night. So obviously when we got here, that first day it was already across the river and it was going into Highway 26. It was about 200 acres on the other side, 26. So when the sun, it burned pretty active all night. But when the sun came up, it actually, I was just going to pick up and go a lot faster. And with the pointer here, some of the predictions I've seen, it was burning over 50 acres a minute. So about 11 o'clock, it was across Highway 26, and it was making it out to Jesus Maria. By later that day, it was already down in here in the mountain, above Mountain Ranch area. The next day, it was all the way around Mountain Ranch, and that's where the fourth day was down on the bottom down there. Extreme fire behavior. So it was very difficult to get in front of it. We were worried about people out there, obviously. At one point, our firefighting aircraft were actually dropping on people trying to get ways out of the fire. So it was a very difficult fire. Today we're concentrating on really buttoning up our fire line, making sure it's all mop up. It means we're putting all the hot spots out around the perimeter, about 300 to 400 feet in. If you see all those brown spots on there, those are what we call big islands, or areas that are partially burned or not burned at all. And you still have a lot of heat in there, and that's why you guys are seeing all that smoke popping up every once in a while out there. We're actually going there and getting those things all put out. We're working around the houses, making sure the houses were all safe for repopulation. It took a lot of time. Because obviously the trees are weak in, there's areas what we call stump holes, which basically the fire burning underground where the stump root system is. Today we actually had an incident where a firefighter stepped in a stump hole and he's in the burning it now. So those are some of the things you guys got to work about, we talked about when we do repopulation. You got to really be careful around your house because the dangers are still there. Okay? I'm going to introduce you to Scott Black. He's going to come up, we're going to talk a little bit about the evacuations and how we did the evacuations and how we got you guys back in for when we repopulated the area.
Hi again, my name is Scott Black. I'm the law enforcement liaison for Team 1. Talk about the process for evacuations. I work very closely, integrated with CHP, with Calaveras Sheriff, with Amador Sheriff, with state parks, all the local law enforcement around here. Thank them for getting you out of your house. They did a wonderful job. And we work closely with both operations and the incident commanders to decide when people are going to get evacuated. We look at decision points. If the fire gets here, we're going to go and advisory to the evacuation. If it gets here, we're going to go mandatory evacuation. And these guys start getting busy and start getting people out of there. It's all about your safety. It goes through a long checklist to make sure it's safe. When we get back into repopulation, again, it's all about your safety. We want to get you back in as soon as we possibly can. We know you want to get back in sooner than we let you in. We realize that. But it's all about your safety. Like Chief Brunel was saying, we want to make sure there's no trees that are going to fall down on you. We want to make sure there's not live wires out there. We want to make sure there's not stump holes and all this kind of stuff. So we go through a long checklist through law enforcement, fire, utilities, EOCs, health, to make sure it's safe for you to get back in there. And that's how we start to send you back in. I'll get back to Tony so he can kind of tell you how.
Early on in the incident, we did something called embedding. So riding with me or was on the incident, I had a sergeant with me from the Calaveras Police Department. So I'm from out of the area, so knowing that area there was, I had to learn the area real quick. But with him in my vehicle, we have what we call decision points. So if the fire gets to a certain spot where we say we're going to evacuate this area. If the fire gets to there, we're going to evacuate that area. And the first couple days of the fire was actually burning in so many different directions. By the time we figured out what our decision point was, it was already hitting. So we got to give the law enforcement officers enough time to get in there and get you out. And obviously law enforcement's not trained in firefighting, so we're putting them out ahead of the fire, which is very dangerous. So we got to give them enough time, so they get enough people in place to get you guys out. Unfortunately, I know some people didn't get the word that, through the reverse 911 system, whatever you use in your county, so we had the officers out doing that. And one of the difficulties we had in the main part of the fire is that people weren't getting the work, so we were having to go in there and get them out. And it was very challenging. But once we got to that point, the fire started slowing down, we really made an effort to get you guys back in your house. We know it's a huge inconvenience for you guys to be away from home. The whole question is, my house still there, my house isn't still there. So we try to work on it, we work with, like I said, utilities, all the other companies out there. We send fire engines around every house, make sure it's safe to get back in, drop any trees that we're concerned about. Then we were able to repopulate the area, like those maps back there, see kind of areas where we did. We had to kind of do it in chunks, because when you have a 71,000 acre fire, that's a lot of area to cover. So it was a little bit difficult. I hope we did the best we can for you, and we'll go on from there. And we don't talk about fire victims, we talk about fire survivors, and you guys are it. Thank you.
Just be careful still.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Lieutenant. All right, now you have to listen to me. My name is Mike Moeller. I'm actually the Incident Information Officer for Team 1. I'm kind of give an idea of how information flows in an incident like this, very dynamic incident. To me, information is very important because it's my job, and I think it's very important. And our title is Public Information Officer. Is the media our ally? Absolutely. But the public is who we serve with information. It's you. It's getting you information that is in a timely fashion, but it's accurate. So I kind of want to give you an overview of how information flows on an incident like this, because we get a lot of calls. We need information, right now, or what's going on. So how it works is we have our day operations and our night operations. So let's say night operations, they come in early in the morning, they give us information, right? And technically they give us intelligence, intel. And what we do with that is we glean the information off that: acreage, containment, evacuations, areas that are threatened. We take that, we put it on what we call a fact sheet, and we email that. We put it out to the press, we put it on the radio, and that happens twice a day, because then day operations goes out, they come in, they report that information, and then again, we glean that intel, we turn it into information that's accurate and disseminated to you in a timely manner. That way we make sure that you know the exact acreage, containment, evacuations. Now, if an evacuation order changes, if we have something that needs to get out immediately, a repopulation area, that's a news advisory. We send that out immediately because the fire is changing. But we have to make sure we give you the most accurate information. I can tell you on this fire that it moves so quick that we work with operations, we work with our law enforcement partners. If you look at our information section, we literally are embedded with law enforcement and operations to make sure that we are giving you the most current, accurate information. There were several things that happened on this fire. Loss of power, loss of connectivity. We live in a world where information is instantaneous. One of the things that we have to sort through, and a lot of what we deal with, is social media, third-party information. There's nothing wrong with that, but what I ask you is, if you're not getting it from the incident, you have to look at the source that it's coming from. Now again, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, but where is that information coming from? And what happens is that rumor starts. So about 40% of that is accurate information. Do we use that? Absolutely we do. But remember the sources that you look at. It's very important that we don't start that we control it, and we get it out to you. I tell people I have the easiest job, well, I shouldn't say the easiest, I have the best job, and I have the hardest job. Because I get to, and all these information officers that are in the back, that have been out in the community since this fire started, and some of you have probably had contact with them, they go door to door. They go out in the community and give you that information. And I get to interact with the community along with them. The hardest part is, we're going to be here after this incident leaves through the recovery stage, so I'll probably meet a lot of you, and then I'm going to have to walk away from this community and go back to Southern California, where I'm from, after I built all these relationships. So that's probably the hardest part. When we have an incident like this, we form what we call trap lines. These are areas and communities where people gather. It could be the lookout, where a lot of people go to see the canyon that's on fire. It could be the local supermarket. It could be the local coffee shop. If you've been out, we had 22 different track lines in both counties with, I would say, 20, 25 PIOs every day out there putting a new map, a new fact sheet, there to talk to the community. That was one of our best ways to get information out there. Not only did we do that, we were making sure that we were at the evacuation centers to get out there and see the people affected, getting you timely, accurate information. That is our job. And right now, our information officers are still engaged. We moved into what we call a recovery portion. Okay, we get you the information, but now the information we need to get to you is maybe a contact for some type of recovery. You know, we work very close with the county, with all the law enforcement, the county emergency operations centers, and getting that information out to you. We're going to do several more community meetings. We'll make sure that's out. We're going to be working with Chief White and the unit here. I was wondering the attendance here. What I heard, being from Southern California, is there's a little rivalry between Angels Camp and a high school over in San Andreas. So maybe people didn't come over here for that. I don't know. So we're going to do one out that way too. But I want to make sure that you know that information we take very, very seriously. It's something we try to get to you as quick as possible so you can make a decision as the public of what you should do and that is accurate. And what I'd like to do at this point is we're going to have some questions. Chief over there has got the microphone. What I'd like to do is we're going to field several questions, but I want you to know that we're going to stay after the executive staff, the fire chiefs here, law enforcement will be here tonight to answer every question until we're done. But if you have a question that you think everybody needs to hear, please go up there. He's got a microphone, so if you want. And we'll get it to the right person.
Yes, every day I came out and I got the incident report. I'm from the California Animal Disaster Shelter. And there was a noticeable hole in that disaster reporting. You had all the evacuation centers, the Red Cross evacuation centers in that report. And you also had information on where people could take livestock. However, the big hole that I found is there was no place to take pets, dogs, and cats. And Red Cross shelters don't take animals unless they're circumstances. So a lot of people didn't know what to do with their animals, and I was just curious why that information about pets was not in there.
Well, that's something we need to, again, we work with the County Emergency Operations Center, and for our fact sheet, if that's something that we need to look at, absolutely, as far as animal control using the county, that's something that should have been on our fact sheet. I know we did have the large animal rescue areas, but that's something we'll have to look into because we did refer them to the county, but we needed something for smaller animals. We will definitely look into that now. Thank you.
Chief, we're going to move around here because there are scopes all the way across the room.
We've been on a lot of the roads that we're not supposed to be on to get back to our house. And one of the amazing things that I saw is bulldozer work that they've done to do this, backstops and all that. But more important than that is the PG&E. And I don't see that there's any PG&E people here. But I mean, they're doing just an absolute.
We do have a map, actually, now, but go ahead and finish the question.
I mean, we personally have electricity. Other people that are very near us do it, but I know they're busted their butts. And I would personally really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you very much. And that is a great comment, because if you look here, CAL FIRE executive staff, executive law enforcement, all of our fire chiefs here, and our cooperators for utilities, it really, really is a cooperative effort to make, unfortunately, a large disaster come together. So, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. My boyfriend and I did lose our home. He was born in the back bedroom, but we appreciate everything you've done, and we know you worked very hard. So thank you.
That's
to
all.
everyone.
Again, I want to say thank you. I just noticed in the beginning there were some inconsistencies. It seemed like different people had other information. The sheriff's department would say, oh, this road is open, you go up there, no, it's closed. The dispatcher, I guess there's about 6 people that can actually close a road, PG&E, Highway Patrol and that. It didn't seem like there's someone that was in charge of that could be, a focal point to where we could go and find out what was really true. Because you had people coming up from the valley and you had sheriffs there with guns because they knew they were going to come across some hot residents there.
Yeah, I'll address that. As the chiefs have said, this thing happened so quick and unpredictable. So between the sheriff's department and the highway patrol, we're out there, we're trying to shut down the roads, we're trying to make people safe, we're trying to do the evacuations. So I totally agree with you. The first day or so, there was a little disconnect there, but eventually, once the sheriff's department's emergency operations section got going, one of our sergeants was embedded into there, providing us timely information. I was at the command post out here at the fairgrounds, both in Amador and here when they moved it over here, and that information started flowing a lot better. So we do after action reports, we look at these issues and concerns so we can do better next time. But the only thing I can tell you is I'll tell you, I became a police officer because I hate fire. What these guys do is incredible. So I run from it, they run to it. So, and I know that it's just at the initial onset of these major incidents, whether it's a fire, it's a hurricane, it's a flood, there's a lot of resources coming in, everybody finally gets connected up, and we try to get that information, as the PIO said, we're trying to get the information out to you, and I know my officer at our office was posting it on Facebook, on our Facebook page, the Sheriff's Department was sending out NIXL alerts on the evacuations, but that did take a couple of days. So I'm not sure if you're talking longer term.
Longer term, actually, even into the fire, that there's still some inconsistency between the agencies that was going on there. And my question too is also between the counties. There was some miscommunication between the counties and to get this whole thing going. I mean, there's some politics that I think we just need to step back and look, what happened here? How can you stop this from happening next time?
We'll do that. I'll talk to you afterwards and get some information. Because like I say, I have to do a full after action report. I know the Sheriff's Department does that. And so I would be very interested in being able to address that.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yes, this addresses the Cal Fire webpage. I followed it quite closely all through the incident. Lived at Mount Ranch. And what I noticed was that the closure information was correct when they closed the road, but it wasn't, they didn't necessarily indicate when they opened. In all cases, the only time you could find way to find out the road was open to go and see if you ran into the roadblock, and then it was closed. But Bridge Road was posted as closed on the webpage for several days after it opened.
That's a great question, and I'm going to chime into what the lieutenant said. You have to remember the road closures, we don't only close them for the emergency and they move. And like the lieutenant said, we sat with all of our law enforcement partners. Those move. It may be a utility, it may be because of the fire, it may be because of infrastructure. So those move. We ask you during this is a very dynamic situation. You can see this is a 70,000 acre fire that moved at some points 70 feet a minute. We had to adjust those. Our job, I can tell you, and it falls on me, is public information, is getting you that accurate information in a timely manner, but we have to ask you for your patience because we are trying to do that as quick as possible with our law enforcement partners, our local government cooperators, to get that out to you. And that's a great question, sir. We update them as soon as we can to make sure that you're safe. So we ask you for your patience, and it's something that we work on and continually improve.
I know that many of us who were evacuated left town and spent all those many days in friends or relatives' homes. And I guess we picked the wrong one because we had no communication whatsoever. We couldn't use a computer, and we weren't getting any news reports. The news stations did a very poor job of covering the Butte fire. Once the Valley fire started, they were forgetting us. So we weren't getting much information. And I think we should
absolutely right, and Chief White, can you help me on this, is it KBGC, the radio station, was absolutely amazing. Jim Keeney, is that right? But Jim, anyways, KBGC was very, very instrumental, and I agree with you, ma'am. We did actually do have a hotline that was open, and we actually, for the first time, grabbed that hotline and put it in the command post, and tonight it's still open, and we will sidebar with you. We actually have the contact. We are going to keep that line open, but that's something we need to get out to you quicker. We did have a hotline, but obviously didn't have the number, and that's something that we have to look at. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to take 2 more questions because we have some closing comments, and then we will be available after. All of the executive staff, local government, and law enforcement will be here to answer your questions. So go ahead, sir.
My question is addressing to the sheriff's department. I live up on Jesus Maria Road, and during the beginning of it, I had not one single sheriff come by. The only reason I knew what was going on is the neighbors. And I'm kind of curious as to why there wasn't anything going on with the sheriff's department.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Anthony Eberhart, Calvert County Sheriff's Office. I'm not quite sure, are you referring to days after the evacuation, or?
No, on Thursday, I left myself Thursday about 1:30. And started Wednesday afternoon, just watching what was going on. There was, literally not one sheriff talking.
Well, first I'd like to explain how our county works. The evacuation actually existed off Highway 4 to Highway 26. It's quite a bit of area, right? We started the night with the fire with 4 personnel on. We only had 4. So when this happened and the fire started breaking out and evacuations had to take place, we only had 4 guys on to start the evacuation process. We started notifying mutual aid, and as our mutual aid sources started coming, we started dispatching them to certain locations where we got updated with CAL FIRE, advising us where the evacuation areas go. Those had our priority. We tried getting in front of this fire. Like the chief said earlier, this fire was moving 70 feet per minute. Our roads don't go, street 1 through street, 100, and then A through Z. So it was one of those things where we did everything we can with mutual aid by assigning up certain roads and tagged it. I guarantee Jesus Maria was tagged. Oh, I'm sorry. Regarding tags, we personally go door to door. We have to send a deputy car up into your neighborhood, up your driveway, to actually knock on the door to verify that if somebody's home. Once we get the verification that it's somebody's home or it's not home, we tag the house. We usually tag it with some type of marking tape, and then we proceed to the next one. As for Thursday, without knowing the exact time and actually having all the record keeping, I wouldn't know exactly what time Jesus Maria actually got back there. I was on Jesus Maria.
There's a fire.
Personally, broke those roads.
I don't get it.
I called CDM, I gave my address, 1565 Ponderosa Way. Am I under a mandatory evacuation? No, you're not. And when you are, you will first 911 call. I said, oh, man.
So we waited until we almost got there.
Thursday afternoon, I left the plane burning my mother's house. And nobody came.
Well, when I'm speaking of reverse 911, it's a system the county has, which we have to physically type in the addresses.
It was CAL FIRE that told me that, not the sheriff's office.
I am not going to speak for CAL FIRE. I don't believe CAL FIRE utilizes reverse 911.
That's what they told me.
No, when they said that you would be notified by reverse 911 from the sheriff's office. So it's that communication. So again, this is one of those things that we'll go back, we'll be working with the sheriff's office to review the system and to find out what we can improve upon. What we identified earlier is that when those power lines came down, the telephone lines are hooked up. So if you still have power, I understand. I'm not talking about your specific situation because unfortunately I don't know. But what we're going to do is try to identify, because the Nixle system is one that the sheriff's office uses, and it's something that we can discuss afterwards and be able to share the information. But the Nixle
seem to work really well in those areas that have cellular service. That's one of the problems with Mixel. If you have cellular service in there, it's a good system. And everybody in Calaveras should sign up for the Mixel service.
There's no cell service in Calaveras County.
I know it's very limited. I completely agree. I completely agree. I'm involved in this area.
I have a couple of questions actually, regarding, the percentage of areas that remain unpopulated, if there are any, I'm not aware. And how many roads, if any, are still closed? And then for the next few weeks, what the time frame is for cleanup, what that's gonna look like, and any dangers that we should be aware of, like, you know, mudslides if there's rain, things like that, what should we be prepared for and careful of?
All right, I'll fill this one if nobody minds. You want to jump up? No? Okay, I got it. Okay, to answer your first question, the entire area is repopulated. All of the roads are open, but we have a lot of utility work going on. So PG&E is working feverishly right now. They identified over 15,000 trees that they would have to take down because of the fire damage, and that they knew immediately would come in contact with, or potentially come in contact with those power lines. So they're working to restore power, to get those power lines up. I think, Mr. Reeves, was it 680 poles that had to be replaced? Somewhere in that neighborhood? 900 poles for them to replace, and that includes some of the transmission lines that were down out of electric. So they have a lot of work to do. In the future, when we start talking about rains, we are going to have to all definitely be aware of the potential for the mudslides and that rain will wash off. So this is going to be a long-term awareness for us as we go through and recover from this. Does that answer everything? Yeah, it was multi-question, so and we referred, so the question is how long for us to continue mop up or cleaning up all of the hot spots. And that's really probably going to be going on throughout the rest of the season until we get rains. We're going to have we're holding on to a lot of resources for as long as we can, but you're going to see the local Tuolumne Calaveras unit personnel going out, continuing to mop those smokes up. We'll be tasking some of our local government friends to come out and help us from time to time if we need to. But that's one of the benefits of repopulation, is that once people get back in, Calaveras is resilient. So I know that a lot of the time somebody might see us smoking, we'll take a little cup of water and dump it on and we're done with it. But on the same token, it also puts the eyes and ears out there for us to be able to find those smokes, call us up. Let us know what the address is. We're doing that constantly right now, that you're identifying those smokes. We'll come out and take care of those. Let's do a couple more questions if you don't mind.
It's concerning trees, how to identify, who would we get in touch with to identify trees that have been damaged, that could potentially fall, and what degree are they going to go ahead and die, or which ones will fail? And I just might add also, we live on Zewsbury Road, and then evacuation, or tanking of any sort. But right now, that's behind us. Right now, I think we have to look to the future, and the trees are an issue around houses. I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this. What is the resource that can come out and tell us, you have to take that one down, or that one's going to live, or that one's...
As far as identifying specific trees around your property that need to be removed, there's a number of different choices. You can hire an arborist to come out. Now I know that sounds, we're talking about a lot, 71,000 acres essentially to be looked at. There's going to be an enormous strain. Right now, as far as life safety, if you're concerned about a specific tree, grab a fire truck. If you see a fire truck in your neighborhood, ask them. We have a lot of people out there right now. Ask them if it's life safety. Is this a hazard tree? Does this need to be removed? But in the coming months, we're going to be out there. For the Tuolumne Calaveras unit, we have 3 outstanding foresters. Reach out to us at CAL FIRE. We'll be able to try to get somebody out there to take a look. But we're also going to be working very closely with the county and identifying those specific requests that people have and identifying different sources of information for you.
When we evacuated ourselves, there were a lot of fire trucks going to the intersection of Butte Ranch Road, Jesus Maria, and we did everything around, especially truck through those spaces, that's always, I can understand the way the road is being sort of,
And just for time's sake, I know that you have a very specific question on what I would love to do afterwards. You and I can go talk and look one of the maps. I can't second guess what the firefighters were doing. It was a very dynamic fire. For those of you that were here, it seems like an eternity ago. It was a Saturday, probably about 10 days ago, I think. That I was here talking about how this fire burned. That first 96 hours of that fire, that's where a vast majority of this burn danger occurred, was that first 96 hours. So it's difficult for me to try to second guess any firefighter choices, but I'd like to talk to you afterwards.
So I evacuated briefly with my family, came back in and fought fire on my land for about 4 days. I have some questions because what I saw happen from Cal Fire while I was there upset me. And I first want to say that I understand that it's a tactical situation, and sometimes some houses have to burn for an overall strategy that saves the town. I also understand that at times people point fingers. I'm not interested in that, but I do have some things that I'm having trouble conceptualizing as being something other than negligence. Specifically, back burners. I myself saw once and heard numerous reports from other people, friends that stayed in the burn zone of the back burns being started that caught structures and houses on fire, and at least one case burned to the ground. In the event that I saw, a fence caught fire in the front yard, and the next door neighbor tried to get the attention of the fire crew, was able to do it, and ended up firing up his bulldozer and putting it out himself. At the time, there were 5 firefighters standing in a circle taking selfies about 50 feet away. Another time, there was a neighbor who had a 10,000-gallon tank on his property. His house burned down, and supposedly, I did not confirm this one myself, but there was a log found on it afterwards, as if that water source had been commandeered. Now, I can be wrong, I appreciate the effort, and I know you guys have worked hard, but these things that I saw have made me sleeplessly upset. I'm wondering, what is the standard of CAL FIRE for back burns and safety structures for commandeering water sources, things like that? Why do these houses catch on fire?
Well, for those specific questions, I'd rather refer to our operations section chief. I can tell you, the idea of CAL FIRE personnel taking selfies out on the fire line, I'm greatly opposed to it, to just put it mildly. And the firefighters at Tuolumne Calaveras unit know exactly how I feel when it comes to that. So, I understand that there's a lot of things regarding perception specific to the backfiring. I'll let Tony Brownell talk about that, but I would like to talk with you afterwards as well. I'm sorry if there's things that we did that caused you any sleepless nights.
Like I said, I'm open to the fact that I just didn't understand, but I would like to hear about it.
Yeah, it's kind of it's upsetting when you hear that. You know, we talk, every briefing we have with our folks, and when in the operations section, I have branches that work for me. Under them, have divisions that work for me. Under them, have the striking division do it. And we pull people in on these fires from all over the state. And CAL FIRE has a policy that we do not do social media. So if they do that, they get taken care of, okay, through our process of taking care of the issues. Now, do we have control of every firefighter, what they're doing every second on the line? I wish I did. But with this magnitude, we can't control everything that happens. And as far as backfire goes, it's our standard in our operations, if any backfiring operation goes, has to run through the operations section, unless it's a threat to life or immediate need to do so. So if they were in those houses and they were threatened by fire, they laid down some fire and try to save that house, unfortunately there's a bad effect to it. And we don't, but we have to give them some operational longevity to do things like that to save the house or save the lives. And I also, talked about Jesus Maria, we were talking about the firefighters not engaging down Jesus Maria. There's a couple things going on. We're focused on certain areas, okay? We're going to try to focus our resources as limited as they were to save as many houses as we can. And at the time of Jesus Maria, when the fire was going through there, we had very large concern about firefighter safety. Because as you guys driven down it, I'm sure, you've seen how it burned. So we took 100-year growth of fire that some of this area here hadn't burned for 100 years. So, and then we're into a street drought. We're not going to ask our firefighters to trade life for property. We're going to make them focus on where they're going. Now, if you have specific issues where you saw some firefighters doing something they weren't supposed to, we want to hear about it. because we can't fix problems we don't see, okay? Like I said, we don't condone it, and it should have been happening, and if it did, we apologize, and we'll take care of it, we know exactly who it is. That's your question?
Thank you. The only other question I had was about commandeering water sources. Some properties that burned down when they had.
Obviously, this area in here is dry, right? And water sources were a premium. So if they saw a water source they needed to use, and they had to use it, they had to do it. And it's hard for us to know exactly where every water tank goes to, what it flows to, and how it's fed back in. So they might have had a need to get some water out of somewhere they need to go to put out another house or save another house. And our main priority is saving life. So we go out there in front, put some fire out to save the community, that's what we're gonna do it. You see this area that's all red in the middle? Right? At one point in the fire, we had to circle our inches in that whole community to try to save that whole community. And those firefighters were totally surrounded by fire for a while, to the point where they almost said they had to get in what we call safety zone to save themselves. Once the fire calmed down, they went back in there and saved all the safety they did. So believe me, don't judge all the firefighters by the actions of a few. And I'm not saying you are, but there was some great firefighting efforts done out here to save every house they could. We did not intentionally burn down any house. I can tell you that right now. Okay? That wasn't our priority. Okay?
Yeah!
I'm Terry Weatherby from Oak Hill, and I have 4 questions, but 2 of them have been answered. I'll talk to CHP afterwards, and KBGC. Thank you. Someone brought up KBGC. My number 2 question was, we have fire subcontractors in our county, and Hertig was a mile, for example, from a mile where the fire crossed. These subcontractors are on a list, but they don't get called right away. They're pulling people in from an hour. I have no idea, but can you really make an effort to pull the subcontractors that are close to the fire to get them involved right away? And I think that would have made a big difference in the fire. And then question 3 that I had, no, don't clap, save your clap for the end. Question 3 that I had was we had non-subcontractors, civilians out there fighting the fire on their stuff. And a couple of these subcontractors that hadn't been called yet are out there on their own risk. And the story, the legend is that Mountain Ranch was saved by a bunch of volunteers out there. They're fighting on the fire lines. What can be incorporated from you guys to get these guys in? We're on the sticks out here. We don't have the firefighters they have in the valley. We have people protecting their homes. And when they go out to get more diesel fuel to come back in, the CHP stops them. What can you guys do to incorporate these guys into your program better in the future to fight these fires?
Okay,
So 2 questions.
2 questions. So let's go back to question number 1, and that was specific to
Local subcontractors.
local subcontractors.
Mobilized.
Right. And that's one of the things Chief Evans and I spoke about it that very morning, and we identified the bulldozers that were available over on Highway 26, and we were expediting the process. We really tried to do everything. There is a process, it's state government, but there is a process to be able to go through. We expedited, and we got those dozers on contract and started utilizing them right away. Now, as far as talking about, are we speaking about volunteer firefighters?
We're talking about ranch
owners. Well,
homeowners.
I'll dive into my closing comments a little early, and I'll take and extrapolate a little bit. What I ask is join the volunteer fire companies. Be a part of the organized volunteer, because part of the reason is there are standards and training that we have to encapsulate. As fire chiefs, we are all responsible for those firefighters that are out there. And so we want to make sure that they're that they have the appropriate personal protective equipment, that they have the training, that they know what they're doing. And by joining the volunteer fire department, they get all of that. They get all of it for free. And then on top of it, we've been hiring our volunteers to go out and work on the state fire for us. We're working unified, but they're actually getting paid by the state. So I can't emphasize enough the need for, if people want to be firefighters, please join. We are constantly recruiting volunteer firefighters. Chiefs, am I right?